Friends, what is happening? Wow, this is going to be a interesting video. I have 3 years ago, if you had asked if I saw this video coming, despite a lot of the tests that I had done over the years with regards to a lot of the diesel heaters that I've tested, I would have said, well, you know what, the odds of this happening are pretty lean because let's face it, I've tested a lot of diesel heaters over the course of the last 6 years, and majority of them have been absolutely rubbish. Actually, almost nearly every one of them have been, including the original one from these guys right here, the Sparks Overland. And so we'll get more on that here in a bit. But I will say, over the course of the last 6 years, I've become a tough critic of diesel heaters. Let's factor in why. You know, when you're heading out into the field, and if you're relying on a heat source from a little box like one of these things right here, there's a lot that you need to rely on, and these machines need to operate to the absolute best that they can. And as a result, there are a lot of machines out there where the manufacturers cut corners, or they just don't perform, or there's safety hazards with them. There's a number of things where a lot of these machines have failed over the years. And I would say I become a bit of a tough critic when it comes to diesel heaters. When you have machines like this one, of course, this is if you've been following this channel for any duration of time, this is my old faithful, my Planar. This is a 4 kilowatt diesel heater, and this thing it's been through heck and back and has stood the test of time, and I've beaten the hell out of this for a number of years, and it has always performed extremely well. So with the benchmark set so high from this machine right here, it's no surprise that so many other diesel heaters and gas heaters over the years have not been able to come anywhere near dethroning this heater. It's been a great, reliable heater. I know the people that run the company up there, and they're good people. They build a solid machine. But that said, as I've shared many times over and over again on this channel, my loyalty is not with any particular brand, person, partner, or this or that. It's with you, the end user, ensuring that you get the absolute best product that is on the market. And as I've hinted over the course of the last handful of months, there is a new sheriff in town. I hate, it's such a cliche thing to say. There is a new diesel heater that I feel is the absolute best on the market. And of course, you wouldn't be watching this video, or I wouldn't be making this video if it wasn't obvious process of elimination. If it's not this one, it has to be this one. And yes, it is this little box right here. And particularly, well, Sparks Overland diesel heaters in general, they have a few different variants of this, which again, we'll get into more detail about that in a bit. But at the end of the day, this is now my second season testing these heaters, and it has just blown me out of the water in terms of how they have performed. And this one right here, I've beaten the snot out of this thing already, and I've tested a number of their full-size units as well as their gas units as well. Again, we're going to dive more into some of the details about this heater in a bit. But this video is going to be all about a comparison, and ultimately why, as the title, actually, no, I'm not sure how, the title of this is probably going to be something like Planar versus Sparks Overland diesel heater, something like that. So I probably haven't given away which one is ultimately crowning it, but as you're probably watching this, you're probably figuring out, yeah, there is a new ship, there is a new heater that I feel deserves your attention and a very close look. I'm not going to take anything away from this heater. It is a phenomenal heater. It has done exactly what you would want out of a diesel heater over the course of the last 5-6 years, but I feel this has taken the position, and I'll explain why here in a moment. So what we're going to do with this video here is I'm going to get some of this off my desk here, and we'll start going through some of the details of each of the machines, and then I'm going to share with you why this heater has been now crowned as my favorite diesel heater, and why after 6 years it's the first heater to take this one out of its #1 spot. So let's get on it. All right, so here we go. This is the 4 kilowatt Planar diesel heater. Now this is going to come available in a couple different configurations. You have this one, which is their larger unit. Actually, they have 3 versions of this. You have the 2 kilowatt, which is going to be a slightly smaller box. It has a 2 kilowatt, and it's an auto-term core inside of these things. Then you have the 4 kilowatt, which is what this one is. And then they do have a Arctic one, which is I believe it's just available in a 4 kilowatt. And that one is just set up for a little bit more extreme conditions and so forth. But anyway, we're going to break down this one right here. So you can see this is a, memory serves me correct, this is a Nanook case that they're using with this here. And actually, let's do this. Let's start off with, we'll cover dimensions and all that other fun stuff. So this thing is roughly 17 inches tall. It is, what's funny is I guess I could probably almost put it on the screen and just look it up. About 24 inches wide, and that's including the right side of the exhaust pipe coming out. And it is approximately, and I'm eyeballing this, about 12 3/4 inches wide. Okay, I'll put the weight on it because I can't remember what the hell the weight is of either of these machines. So, all right, let's start breaking down things on this. On the front of it here, you have logo. You have this bright yellow case. It does come available in an OD green as well. You have these are some air inlets into the heater, as you're going to see here in a moment. We're going to flip it around to the back. Here you have the exhaust of the heater itself coming out. It has a insulation coming out of it. You have this little buffer thing here that prevents stuff from going in there, whatever. And on the back, this heater right here, this is a 1.75 gallon external fuel tank. This is a hard PVC. You may recall last year we did a comparison to this to the H calorie. And this is, it is a very solid fuel tank on here. Now up here you have 2 wiring harnesses here. One is going to be for your power. The other is going to be for the tether that's going inside of your tent. That's going to have your controls and so forth. You have a plastic fuel cap on here. And you'll see why we're going to talk about that momentarily or towards the end. And this is going to be your air in, where the heater is taking the air inside of the unit, actually for the combustional part of the heater core itself. All right, then on the front you have another air in, and then you also, this is your air out, and this of course is where you're going to be sticking your main pipe going in. Now, when you get the location, this goes on pretty effortlessly, and then you just take a screwdriver and you tighten that up and you are off to the races. All right, on the top you have a couple latches here, and yeah, nice handle. Boom, there you go. All right, so let's crack this thing open so you can see what we're working with here. All right, and you can see this is how it looks, like a rat's nest. You can get all tidy if you want to. And all right, so you have two lines of hoses here. 2 lines of hoses. You have two main wire harnesses there. Okay, let's take this one out. Okay, the wider of the 2, which we had spoken about a moment ago, this is going to be to your controller. This is how you're going to control this particular heater. You have, I can't recall the length of this here. It's never been an issue. It's been plenty long and so forth. But that's going to plug into one of those lines, wiring harnesses rather. And then of course the larger of the 2 is going to be your power. Now, like any machine, and this is something I'm going to repeat over and over again, it's something you've heard me echo over the years. Something very important with diesel heaters, you always want to make sure that you have a solid power in, and that is because diesel heaters, if the power gets shut off or they don't power off correctly, the heaters, it can cause damage to the heaters and so forth. Now, when this came through, this heater came through, the wires are just, bare wires at the end here. So unlike the Sparks, which we'll get here in a moment, it doesn't come with one of these adapters to plug it in. So this is my handiwork there, which I'm going to say no comment. But one thing I will say here is make sure if you do happen to get a planar heater that you want to get yourself a really good 12-volt plug, because this one right here, every time I use it, you have to duct tape it in because it has a tendency of popping out, and then while it's done that a couple times, the machine will shut off, which of course is not a good thing. Okay, anyway, 4 kilowatt auto term core here. You can see from the inside of this, it looks really well. It's really tidy and so forth. And so it's a little filthy. I didn't clean anything, but you can see how the hoses are coming through here. Here's the exhaust going out. And again, they have the insulation that is coming all the way up to the machine itself. And you have your air inlet, which wraps around down through that side and along the bottom. And you have your fuel pump, which is, there we go, right there on the bottom. And so, it's pretty straightforward. Again, Planar has done a great job with the construction of this here. Again, external fuel tank. Now, things that, again, I don't have a lot of negative things to say about this. The machine has always done what you want a diesel heater to do. Now, there are a few things that have drove me up the wall over the years, and you can actually see there is a bit of debris and residue on the top of this, and that is accumulation of years of this cap continuously leaking on me. Now, not the end of the world. Well, see, look at case in point. So that just, it just, because it's plastic, it is not, it doesn't, it is what it is. But what I've done over the years is I will use Gorilla Tape or duct tape, whichever one I have, and I'll wrap it around this. Or in some cases, as I've shared in the past, I will put the entire unit in like a Glad bag or so forth, because it does leak. I've had a number of cases where the diesel will leak and it gets all over the place, and diesel fuel is such a pain in the rear end to clean up and so forth. But with that said, I mean, it's a solid machine. Again, it has done a good job. In retrospect to what Sparks has created, it is a tad bit on the bulkier side. And then if, speed is an issue when you get to location. While this is a minor, it doesn't take, it's not something that takes an enormous amount of time, but if you don't have a screwdriver and so forth, getting that on there secured tightly. There's been times where I went out and accidentally forgot to bring a screwdriver and so forth. And while I can get this on, if I pull on that or move that from the inside and so forth, it can accidentally pull that off of that right there. But anyway, that is the Planar 4 kilowatt diesel heater. Now, let's take a look at, this is Sparks Overland. This is the 4K mini diesel heater. Now, this has a velvet core in it. Now, I want to give you a little backstory behind Sparks Overland, because it hasn't been always all positive rah-rah from me with regards to their diesel heater. And this is certainly not their first whack at diesel heaters. About 4 years ago, they came out with a diesel heater. It was a little orange little box, and it was an absolute turd. I didn't like it. There was just too many things wrong with it that I could not get behind it and make enthusiastic recommendations to you folks. Actually, I couldn't give any recommendations on it. And the owner of Sparks Overland was so driven and really geared towards, I shared with him, I didn't hold any punches back. I shared with him what I liked, which wasn't really much. It was more of a long list of things that I didn't like. And so he went to the drawing board and he went out there and rather than, there are companies out there that I've reviewed, various products, and they just push it out, and or they'll try to debunk, the criticism, and just keep pushing the same product out to consumers and so forth. What these guys did is they pulled that old heater off of their offering. And what they did is they went back to the drawing board and they went through a number of different variations before they even came to even the larger one that they have. Now, again, when I start talking about this a little bit further, you're going to find out there's a few different variants that these guys have here. But they went back and they redesigned. One of the first units that we started testing from them with the new design was their 001 prototype. And that, right off the get-go, the light bulb started going off. And actually, that heater I still have. And that unit, while it doesn't have the fit and finish as some of their newer units, actually not even by a large margin, from a performance standpoint and doing what it is intended, it really did a solid job. It was quite impressive. So much so that I started seeing, okay, hey, if these guys, now the unit was a prototype, these guys refine this a little bit, they have a real shot of overtaking Planar with regards to best diesel heater out there. And boy, at the end of that season, the first season, they came out with a more refined version of it, a full-size diesel and a full-size gas, and boy, I was impressed. And then this year, they came out with these minis here, and as soon as I got my hands on this here, I was like, holy smokes, this is absolutely impressive. Now, this looks a little bit like they have this protective plastic on here. I haven't taken it off, so don't judge. You'll see it on the inside and outside. I left it there, and as you can see, of course, it does look, I guess I could have removed it, make it look pretty, just like I could have with the Planar one, tied up the wires inside and make it look a little bit more presentable. But I'm just keeping things in its raw form and just having a pretty casual conversation with you and sharing with you my thoughts of these two heaters. So pardon the grime, pardon the lack of dressing them up, or just keeping it real. Anyways, so they came out with these recent heaters and they just absolutely crushed it. And I've been beating the hell out of these things. And as I've kind of teased about this during the last handful of videos, yeah, Sparks Overland has managed their hard work. And this is the cool part about it. Right now, today, this is, I believe, the best heaters out there. Tomorrow, who knows? Maybe another company may come up and dethrone these guys. I don't know. I can't tell. I don't know what's coming around the corner. Just like, for example, for the longest time, I saw, based upon the heaters that I was testing, that nobody was going to dethrone Planar. But, things happen, and they did happen. So who knows? Maybe one day somebody will come out there and create a better mousetrap for you. But right now, today, this is the absolute best. Now, let me share with you a few of the details about these heaters right here. So they have a few different variants. They have the small one here with it, which is the mini, and then they have a larger one, which is the base camp. Now, they have these. This is a velvet core inside of this. Now, if you are adamant about wanting to get your hands on an auto term core, which is what is inside of my Planar here, they also offer both 2 kilowatt and 4 kilowatt auto term heaters as well, with the auto term core there. Now, the 4 kilowatt is only available in the base camp, which is the larger footprint of the two. This is a mini. And that also comes available with a 3-gallon fuel tank. Yeah, 3 gallons. So if you're heading out for an entire weekend or a hunting party or this or that, and you don't want to bring any extra fuel cans with you, that 3 gallons is going to last you an entire weekend of heating your tent or whatever you're heating. Now, this one right here, this tank is a 1.92 gallon. It's a stainless steel tank that's inside of this here, but we'll get to that here in a moment. So at any rate, the minis come available in a 2 kilowatt and a 4 kilowatt with the velvet core. You can get the 2 kilowatt auto term core in the mini, but again, if you want the 4 kilowatt, that's going to come in the the base camp, which is the larger of the two units here. Okay, on the outside we have this aluminum case, which looks absolutely stunning. Now, what these guys have done is with, you'll notice all these yellow bits on here, including the name badge on the front and the little rubber grommet coupler here, is they've separated because these guys offer these, you know, what Sparks Overland has done here, or what they aspire, is to be that one-stop shop, as much as cliche as I hate that term, but they want to be all things heaters. And they've done a great job with it. So to separate, they have the yellow trim is representing, of course, diesel, which is no surprise. You pick up Rotopacks, it's yellow. Gas cans or fuel cans for diesel, it's yellow. So, and then the gas heaters that they're offering have a red plate, has the red, or the red caps and the red couplers on them, and so forth. And the auto term, I'm not sure what color badges that they're going with. It's either white or black. I'm not sure. But anyways, everything is all different. And so, all right. So you have this, where did my tape measure go? You have these aluminum cases. And so this is 20 inches length, and you're about 12 inches wide, and you're about 13.5 inches tall. Now, not including the legs, because the legs have a bit there. It's about a 9.5 inch box itself. Actually, I'm going to put this down here for now. All right, so let's go with on this side right here. So you have this, these like rubber caps branded with their logo on it. So that is, if you have this being transported outside of your vehicle and so forth, that's going to keep weather elements and stuff outside of the machine, because this is your air inlet in. And the one thing that I really admire what Sparks Overland has done is they use a lot of very high quality parts and so forth. And these machines, these boxes are, if you're looking for an inexpensive heater, I'm going to tell you right now, Sparks Overland is not going to be your best bet. These guys have really invested a lot into the infrastructure of these units here, and with the quality parts. So these are meant to be really long-lasting units here. So a lot of marine grade quality parts are on these things, but you have a handle on each side, which allows you to carry it, of course. You have the air inlet in. On the back of the unit, you have a couple hinges. You have, oops, let me get my bearing here. You have a little rubber cap covering up. This is going to be your quick release for the, actually, I think this is a great opportunity to, as I mentioned, I just grabbed these out of my storage, and like the Planar, I did not dress anything up. So, okay, let's get this here. Let me put that inside there. Okay, so here's one of the things that I really loved about this heater right here. You have a single, much easier to deal with quick release. Now, I will say that when my hands are cold, when your fingers are cold, getting the connections in on the Planar, it's pretty straightforward, but still, it's the little things that count. It is still somewhat of, I don't want to say a pain, but this is much more effortless to get things plugged in. And that's what we're talking about here. When you start getting into this quality of heaters, there are variables that doesn't take much to dethrone one or another. Now, there's a couple things with this heater here that just really jumps above this one here. But little things like this is just a minor upgrade. I would consider this a minor upgrade compared to this, although the quality of the connector and the ease of in and out is so much easier. For me to try to do this with one hand with the Planar, it's not going to happen, just simply by design. Now, here's something that I absolutely, you saw that connector there. This one right here has a light on the end of it, and this thing, when you plug this in, that one on my Planar, when I plug it into a battery source, I have to, duct tape or electric tape, whatever I have, or lean the unit up against a wall to force that connector to stay in there and so forth. This thing it stays in. It's very high quality, heavy gauge wire. And speaking of heavy gauge, this is very, again, these guys didn't skimp, and you're going to pay for it. It is a very quality premium product that these guys have developed here. Okay. Which side was I on? Okay, so let's go. We did that side, we did this side. Okay. All right, let's jump over to the end here. Now this is, let's get over here. This cap right here is the part that always trips me out. This thing right here is a good example of, this is heavy. I can't even imagine the weight of this thing, but you have a big grommet that goes around it, or a seal rather. This is your air, this is your air out. Now this is one of the things I really like as well. Now this is, I mean, let's call a spade here. This is not rocket science here, but nobody else was doing this, and these guys came to market with this, with these specialty high temperature silicone couplers, and all you do is when you get to the location, you pop it in there like that, and you are off to the races. You don't need any tools, and it stays on there really well. And also, it has a swivel with it, so if you need to, whatever, you're moving the hose around and so forth, you're not going to put pressure on this because it does swivel, and when you're ready, it just comes off. Because of the nature of this here, it sticks to the heater core. I ain't sure what you call the damn thing there, but anyways, it sticks to the heater really well. All right, let's come around to the front here, which I can't remember whether I spoke about this already. No, I did not. Okay, so you have a couple latches here, very heavy duty latches. Again, as I mentioned a moment ago, you have the Sparks Overland yellow logo, which tells us this is a diesel heater versus their gas, because again, they have gas versions of these and they also have diesel, and this of course is a diesel. Underneath it, you have two beefy legs, and you can see your exhaust comes out of, let me get my bearing here, comes out of the bottom and shoots off down to the right there. Okay, let's crack this thing open. Okay, so unlike the Planar, the tether with the controls on this one are actually in a fixed inside of this thing here, and there's a little plate here, a little red plate you can actually, has a magnetic that it sticks to there. And again, in this regard, this is actually the protected coated that I never took off. And what's funny is last weekend as I was heading back to my storage, fuel tank was full on this thing here, and I forgot it was in the back of my truck, and it rolled upside down. And now upside down, you have a breather valve over here, and a little fuel came out there, but none came out. Here's the thing that is just awesome, that I absolutely love. So again, this thing has a 9 gallon, yeah. Has a 1.92 gallon fuel tank in here. And this is, let me crack this thing open. Okay. This is one of my favorite features. If you've ever had diesel fuel spill in your vehicle, you know just how big of awesomeness this is. This is like that end fitting that you saw a moment ago, a very heavy piece of stainless steel here. You have this heavy duty rubber seal that goes around it. This is an impressive fuel tank here. So very custom made for these things here. And when you cinch this close here, no fuel leaks, which I absolutely love. And then obviously with the fuel tank being inside, it's a all-in-one enclosed unit. And you can see again, we have the yellow kind of a step up going from the size, the back end of the heater going up to here, and that's going to be, again, where it's pulling in the air. You have the fuel pump down on the bottom side of that there. And one thing I will say with the fuel pump in these, whereas a lot of diesel heaters have that very, very noticeable click, 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 click. and some are much more faint. The one thing I liked about the Planners over the years, I found the fuel pump in theirs to be a lot quieter than some of the other brands out there. This one is yet even quieter, and so this one you barely even notice this thing, which is absolutely incredible. And as you can see here, it is from a fit to finish standpoint, this thing looks really, really fantastic. You have a couple cables here to keep that top in place there. But these guys did a extraordinary job with this heater. Now, let me share with you a few things. Now, again, my job is to go out there and beat the snot out of these things, and this has been no exception with this. One of the things that, for me, a selling point, when you factor in what is one of your largest commodities in your vehicle when you are out and about? Space, right? So with this, when you factor in how small this heater is, it doesn't take up a lot of space. And because of the design of this here, it allows you to stack things on top of that. With this, well, I have tried, you can tell, let me get that over there. You can tell because the top of this is all worn down. This right here is ripped a little bit because I have stacked or tried to wedge this thing in places. And because of the design of it, it's just an awkward shape. This is a very simple shape. I can stack things on top of it, and it fits better inside a vehicle and so forth. So with that said, after 6 years of testing all sorts of diesel heaters, this is the first diesel heater that has dethroned my Planar, which again has been an absolute workhorse over the years. At the end of the day, look, whether you get a Planar or you get a Sparks Overland, you're going to be in great shape because these represent the two best set of heaters that are on the market. Now, if you are somebody that really leans towards wanting to have the best, this is going to be your best option right here. Now, again, it does come, I want to repeat, it does come in a few different configurations. If you resonate on, like you have a Jeep or a 4Runner or small SUV or this or that, or space is a big issue, then I would recommend going with the Mini. Again, if you go with the Mini with the velvet core, you can get the 4 kilowatt in this shape. But if you want the auto term 4 kilowatt, because it is a larger heating unit itself, that's available in the base camp, which is the larger box that Sparks Overland offers, but that does come with a 3-gallon fuel tank on it. And then again, they have gas versions of these as well, which I have tested as well. And again, they're both pretty impressive. One of the questions I get quite often is, Alex, should I go with a gas or a diesel? And look, this is Apple PC, iPhone, Samsung, it really depends on your preference. If you're driving a gas vehicle, I would go with the gas and stick with unless you just absolutely love the diesel heater, just for whatever reasons. If you're driving a diesel vehicle, then that's a really clear path to me. Go with the diesel heater. If you are, just have a hankering and you want the auto term core, you have two options, either the 2 kilowatt, which again, you can get it in the mini size, or you can go with the 4 kilowatt, which again is offered in the base camp size of this and offered in a 3-gallon fuel tank. But anyway, these guys did a great job. And so anyway, with that said, friends, I've been teasing about this video for the last couple months, because over the last couple months, as I was really coming to grip with, holy smokes, somebody finally did it. Somebody finally dethroned Planar, and prepping for this video here and just getting out there. And to be quite frank, I put off this video for about a month and a half because I was just putting a last little beating the hell out of this thing here, just reconfirming my decision with what this video was going to turn out. But anyways, Sparks Overland did it, friends. Well, I'm going to put links down below to Sparks Overland and the heaters here that we've discussed here. If you have any questions whatsoever about diesel heaters, about winter camping. If you've not done winter camping before, I've said this many times over and over again, the getting out there, having the right tools is ever so important. And many that may be coming in and saying, Alex, hey, well, those heaters are way too expensive. Well, heater is a tool, and you gotta do you at the end of the day. Again, you want a quality machine, a quality product. Yeah, it's gonna cost a few more bucks, but it's gonna be something. It's gonna be an investment that you're gonna be happy with. And just like we're making this video right now, where I could stand behind a machine like this and recommend it to you, yeah, you're going to get out there. You're going to see firsthand why having a diesel heater or gas heater, whichever one, is such a game changer when it comes to winter camping and so forth. But that is all I have. So again, if this video was valuable to you, if you found some entertainment with this here, do me a favor, hit that like button down below, subscribe to the channel, hit the notification so you don't miss any future episodes that we have. And actually, you'll see a video coming out where we're going to be showing the first version, or the first auto term Sparks Overland heater here in a subsequent video. So make sure you hit that bell to be notified when that video comes out. We certainly do appreciate your support. And if you have any questions, as I mentioned a moment ago, leave them down below. And with that said, friends, that is all I have. I will see you in the next video.